Hello everyone, this is Andrew the Moo, and I am here for another episode of R&R. That is, Moo's Review and Retrospective. This is where I take a video game that I've played for the channel, I do a review of it, and give you kind of a retrospective of certain thoughts that were going through my mind as I played through this. Today, we're going to look at Tearaway Unfolded. Now, back in May, I ran into a serious problem. The fan of my desktop computer stopped working. And, the fan had gone out of it. That meant that I couldn't stream, I couldn't edit videos, I couldn't do anything from it for fear of the computer overheating and something happening to the processor, the motherboard, or something of that nature. I did toss around the idea of placing the tower right by an air conditioning vent of mine and just turning the air really, really low, but I didn't feel like paying the electrical bill on that one. So I figured I would just let things rest, just leave it off until everything was fixed. But that left me with kind of a conundrum. What do I do? The replacement had to be mailed to me by the company, which thankfully they sent for free, but it would take about a week because of the Memorial Day holiday. So I had to do something to keep my channel from going black for a week. So what I decided to do is I had a PlayStation 4 and a few games that I could stream. If I remember correctly, at the time I had Tearaway Unfolded, I had Bloodborne, and I had the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, which haven't played a whole lot of at the moment, but we may be streaming it sometime soon. Having said all that, do I play Bloodborne? Because I've played Bloodborne at this point. I really like the game. I still haven't beaten it because I haven't made the time to do it, but it's a great game. If you haven't played it, take the time to do so. Or do I try one of these new games? Well, I made the decision, I'm going to pull out Tearaway Unfolded, the Crafted Edition, which, incidentally enough, I had never opened it at this point. It was still in the wrapper, and I knew absolutely nothing about the game when I bought it. I bought it the day I bought my PlayStation 4, but I remembered seeing the commercial online some months ago. I remember looking at the cover art of the game, and I'm like, well, this looks very charming. So I bought this game, and I really and truly never thought about doing anything else with it, but I figured I'd, give it a shot. So, before we get into the game, I want to talk about two things real quick. I love the graphics of the game. The entire world looks like it was made out of paper mache. Everything is colorful, everything is charming, and I love games like this. One of the things that we've fallen into is we talk about, oh, that's a great game. But I see so many games today as far as that people claim, oh, there's good graphics. But it's the boring, everything is a shade of brown that you see, especially in a lot of the modern FPS games. And I understand the reason why they do this, but this game is beautiful, it's vibrant, it's colorful, the world is filled with life. And I like that a lot. The Crafted Edition also came with a soundtrack. And the music of the game fits every level very well. And I'm actually trying to learn how to play the final song of the game on the guitar as we speak. I'm struggling with part of it because I'm not used to having to stretch my pinky out so far in order to do a chord, but I'm enjoying trying to learn it thus far. But I got the Crafted Edition, and what Crafted Edition comes with, it comes with the soundtrack. It comes with, if I remember correctly, 3 costumes, one of Kratos, one of Sackboy from Little Big Planet, and one from another character that I can't think of off the top of my head, plus a number of stickers that you can use to place on your messenger. We'll talk about your messenger in a moment. One of which is one of the Lemming characters, which I thought was absolutely great. So, having said all that, what are we getting into when we get into this game? Now, the game begins with an interesting introduction as the narrators to the story. Mess with your TV a little bit. They're trying to introduce themselves to your world before they introduce you to theirs. And so they use the television and they flip from channel to channel to channel to try to figure out what's going on. We'll get more into what they're trying to say as they go through this towards the end of this, because there's an important message I think they're trying to convey here at the very beginning. But they want to introduce you to their world, and they have a message that they want to send you. But they want to get to know you first. And I like that. I think that's a great way to start this game out. After they fool around with the channels for a little bit, they introduce you to the one who's going to deliver the message to you. I chose the female messenger named Atois. If I remember correctly, the male messenger is named Iota, which is just, that reversed. So you play actually two different characters in this game. There is the messenger who you play as, but you also play as the you. And they're going to refer to you specifically as the you on a constant basis. You are the one controlling the messenger, and you are the one helping the messenger as you go throughout the game. So I think that's pretty cool. So as the you must guide the messenger to the end point of the game, a hole in the world in which you must deliver a message, of course, to yourself. Now, is there anything stopping you from doing that? Well, there are these little beings called the scraps that are turning the environment into kind of a world of newspaper. They're taking away the color. They're making everything drab, and they're making a complete wreck of the world around you. And these guys are kind of stupid. As far as, when you look at their actions and the things that they do, you go, all right, these guys aren't the smartest, the smartest guys in the world. They're not the sharpest hatchets in the bin, They are the foil that stands in your way for most of the game. Again, I'll get into that shortly. Now, it's here that I got extremely nervous because the game introduces you to the guiding light. Now, the light is basically the sensor bar in the PS4 controller, that on the very front. And at first, you're actually guiding the messenger throughout the land using the sensor bar. And I said, no. If this is the way that we're going to be playing this game, we are not finishing this. I won't be playing too much more of this. I was able to use the joystick a few moments later. The guiding light, though, is good for a number of things. It lights the way in dark rooms. It clears the newspaper left behind the scraps to clean up the land. You use it to disorient the scraps, opening them up for attack, and even more. In fact, I've got to say, this game has the most creative uses of any type of controller that I've probably seen in my life. And so I've got to give the game credit for that. This leads you against the scraps as they try to make a wreck during the festival of the wassailing tree, which leads you deep into the forest. And here you're introduced to a number of different things, one of which is the camera function. The scraps have stolen the color from some of the NPC characters, and with the camera, you're able to restore it. You also learn the ability to draw items into the world using the touchpad at the top of the controller. And even how you can bounce, use bounce pads by pressing the touchpad. And again, I was really introduced to the world, I was introduced to the music, and this was a great way for me to break into playing this game. And from that moment forward, I was very, very hooked. I wanted to keep playing. Well, after you do that, you get a moment of pig riding. And you're kind of a little side-scrolling. The pig is running forward. You're mowing through the scraps, and I've got to say that's kind of fun right there, because it's not something where you can die, to the best of my understanding. It's not something where it's just mindless fun, and I like that. But here you're taken to a field which leads you to the second enemy of the game, that is the crows. They have stolen a key that contains, or the key to a barn that contains the one enemy of the crows, a scarecrow head. And it's here that we learn that by swiping the touchpad, we can create wind to create paths, and we can even pick up items, we can store them, we can throw them at the world. Now, at this point, I was thinking to myself, all right, this section's dragging on a little bit too long. I didn't have a problem with it per se, but it's just one of those sections you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, I'm getting to the end of this no, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Well, from there, we end up getting the key because we have the ability to pick up items. We can store them, and we can throw them at the world. And by doing that, we were able to get the key to the barn, and we got to explore through the barn. And I actually got stuck for the first time because of the fact that I really wasn't paying attention to the world around me, and I forgot that there was a bounce pad somewhere near my feet. But it's here in the barn that we have the chance to meet the scarecrow head. And I like the fact that in the attic you could use the guiding light to light candles that were in the room so you could see things better, even using the guiding light to kind of light your way so that you knew where you were heading. But we get to meet the scarecrow head here. And it's here that we do a number of things for him. We're able to create some spooky eyes to to scare away the crows, but also we can use the microphone on the controller in order to create a scream that is used to try to scare away the crows.
Snarl! Roar!
Leads us to the hole in the world and the end of the game and the no, we don't see the end of the game here. A Scrap decides to play defensive line and tackles the messenger. Here we land in a haunted swamp where you find a baby Yeti. You even get the chance to name the baby Yeti, and I've got to say, I loved my little Pudonkus. My Pudonkus was able to destroy certain, I don't know if it was snowballs or rock balls or whatever, they were balls that were blocking my way, and Pudonkus was able to eat them so that we could make progress. But something terrible happens. He's kidnapped by the Scraps, and he's taken from us. So that gives us a new mission. Not only are we trying to reach the hole, but we're also trying to rescue little Pudonkus. Well, here in the swamp, we also earn the ability to walk on glue so that we can scale walls. From here, we're led to a seashore and a port town filled with sailors, tattoos, and a mystic seer. As we know her, she is the messenger in the sky, one of the narrators. It's here that the messenger learns to fly on a paper airplane, and really and truly how to be Moses. We end up going through more woods as we are chased by adult Yetis, and I've got to say, this is probably the least favorite part of my game. I don't like sections that are, hey, the screen is scrolling and you've got to run or else you're going to die, because in my opinion, that's a cheap way to add difficulty. But this is similar to it in the fact that you can't stop and admire the surroundings or look around, because if you do, the Yetis are going to kill you. So it's a don't stop running or die section. Later on, we find ourselves in a scientific research facility, and I've got to question some of the science that's going on here. Although, I've got to say, I did like the sections where you actually placed controller buttons that reacted every time you pressed that button, and it would even go in and out, kind of like someone was pressing the button whenever that was done. I thought that was very neat. It's here that I got stuck again, and I almost got angry because I couldn't figure out what I was doing, and again, I just ignored a touchpad. So I could not figure out what to do, but, I realized that I was wrong. Well, the Scraps attack the research facility, and they bury us in an underground reservoir where we find the kidnapped baby Yeti, and we thwart the Scraps. Now, what was their big plan? They built a giant PS4 controller, and they wanted to have dominion over the realm. They wanted to have control over everything. But we find that these guys really and truly were not the evil beings that we thought they were. They just wanted to be loved. And we showed them the love and compassion that we showed every other character in this game. You'd think that this is the end of the story, but again, nope. The messengers led to a land of stories yet to be told at the edge of the world. And again, you find yourself about to reach that end point, and the game tacks something else on. If there's one thing about the game that I really could complain about, it's that this game suffers from Lord of the Rings syndrome. You know what I'm talking about. You're watching the Lord of the Rings movies, you're getting to the end point, and you think to yourself, alright, so the movie is going to end here, because everything goes black, and then, nope, you got an extra hour and 30 minutes tacked onto the movie. It goes black again, and then you got an extra hour and 30 minutes tacked onto the movie. And that's not even talking about the extended versions. But really and truly, the fact that the game continues to get creative, continues to be imaginative, you're introduced to a world that seems to be lost. And within it, you can hear the song of a lost messenger. And you help guide that lost messenger to a point where you're able to set it free so it can reach its you, deliver its message. That also means that you can reach the end of your story. And I really think it's a great ending to this game. The ending consists of the message being read in its entirety to you. The messenger tells you of its creation, its adventure, and its longing for you to make it real. And I've got to admit, this moment really got to me. There was an innocence to the voice actor of the messenger
Was I in danger? I cleaned up all the mess.
That made my lips begin to quiver, and if you listen to the stream, whenever I would speak, you could tell a difference in my voice. Literally, I was brought to tears by what was going on, and I'm not afraid to admit that. That actually makes 2 games out of the 3 that I've done for R&R that made me cry. I guess I might as well just do one on Transistor and be done with it. That will cover me for the 3 games that have made me cry since I've been on the channel. Who knows, we may just get a top 5, top 10 games that have made Moo cry. But what was the message that was portrayed to us in this game? You know, I told you at the beginning that there was something important concerning the television and something of that nature. What are they trying to tell you? At the very end, you are told,
this is your world.
Make it a world of stories.
This is the main thrust of the entire game. Our lives are stories that are being told, and every day we add a new page. What stories are we telling at this moment? Really and truly, what story can I tell to you if my face is glued to the television? You know, it didn't dawn on me at first, but rewatching the opening cutscene, the game pretty much starts off by telling the player, we don't need to spend all of our lives watching television. And the game is not trying to tell me that video games and television are the ultimate evil. You know, that'd be kind of weird for a game company to say, you should stop watching television and playing video games, because that's kind of their bread and butter. But what they are telling you is that the world is more than these things. Some are content to spending all their days shut away from the world, but what stories will we be able to share with our children and our grandchildren? What can we tell them about our lives? What have we done if we spend every waking moment in front of a screen? And I know this seems kind of counterproductive for a Let's Player to be pointing that out, but I do more than just spend my time inside. And whereas some may say this is the pot calling the kettle black, the game does make an interesting point. We ought to remember that this is the one life that we're going to have here on this earth. We need to make it one that's filled with stories that we can share with other individuals. And so yeah, this is a children's game. It's basically addressed as a children's game, but there's a message in it that's not only appropriate for children, but for adults as well. Let's not spend all of our days glued to a television or glued to a video game. Let's make our lives something that's filled with an adventure. And I do know from this that I plan on doing a number of different things to, I get out a lot as it is, but to try to get out more and to see more of the world around me. As it stands, I'm already planning a trip to a country overseas just to kind of visit on a vacation, because I want the opportunity to see something different than the hot, humid state of Georgia. This has been my review of the game and kind of a retrospective. My thoughts of the game are, when I played it, I didn't know what I was going to expect. I honestly had no clue if this would be worth the money that I was going to spend on it, but I don't regret anything about it. I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed being able to share this game with others. I would definitely recommend it for you to play. And so this has been Andrew the Moo, and next month we're going to have another R&R. I don't know the game yet, but I'll figure it out shortly. Anyway, hope you have a great day, and hope you have some great adventures. Bye now.
Little Etoile, you have traveled far and wide, embraced uncertainty, and found your own true path. But where is your friend, the you? Did they become lost?
No, they are still with us. You stayed with Etoile. You helped and guided them on their journey. Together, you created a new tale. The message has been written.
Yay!
But it remains undelivered and unread. Deliver the message, Etoile. Let them read your story.